So welcome everyone. Today I have Jamie Ginsberg, who is the owner of Marin Power Yoga, and he's here to talk to us about how he is pivoting in this time of the quarantine. And Jamie, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. Really
Yeah, glad
appreciate
to be
you.
here. Thank you.
Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your job, and your current work environment?
Well, starting with the easy one, my current work environment is at home. Uh, Jamie Ginsberg. I've got Marin Power Yoga in San Anselmo. We're a yoga and fitness studio. We used to do 100 classes a week at the studio, and all oriented around small group fitness and gathering people. And that's particularly tough right now because we can't gather. We actually need to isolate. And so our business has changed. Our very like who we are has to change, and how we do our business is in the process of changing in real time. So we went online, right? Our current work environment is online. The first beginning first week was brutal. Like we were all grouchy and not just at home. I mean, like our staff, our team, like we're grouchy with each other. None of us want to change. Like we are all creatures of habits. Like the reason we became teachers at the studio was because we loved our routines and our habits so much that we wanted to do it for other people. And we wound up in this place of our houses, our sacred spaces away from work. And suddenly work is in everyone's house. So we switched to live streaming, and we didn't want to do it as just me live streaming or just Amy, right? It wasn't like that. That's never the way MPY has been. It's a combination of teachers and skills. So we worked with the team, getting people up to speed on streaming, looking at technical setups, problem shooting. We have 22 teachers, so that's a lot of people to work through all different setups. There's no safety net of technology and Amazon to save us with gear and equipment. We're very much working with what we have at home. I think everybody feels a little bit of lack of preparedness at this point.
Mhm, mhm.
And we had some hard conversations like, what are we doing? Like, really, you want me to move my whole living room around to stream video? Like, why would I possibly do that? I'm trying to figure out, can I stay in my place for the next 2 weeks? So now we're 3 weeks in, right? We've all been doing this for a couple of weeks. Our first week arguments seem crazy and silly because it's so long ago already. And we've all adapted to changes so that we can do this. So like, just to give you a really specific example of the studio, this week or last week, let's go with last week, we're in week 3. So
Great.
first week, we randomly streamed classes during the day, and we tried to do one class a day successfully. And we did sometimes 2 classes a day. We definitely had classes that didn't happen that week because our internet failed or our device updated in the middle of streaming. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Mhm.
And we committed and we took advice from all of our people. Like, to be fair, and to be really clear, this isn't me, this is us. So I'll give you an example. There are a couple examples along the way of how people have stepped in to help us. Paul Mann, as we started this, Paul Mann's a member, local resident, and he said, really great advice. Like, just do one thing really well during this time period. Don't try to do everything. And we took that advice week 1 and went like, no, we're not going to do our full schedule of 12 classes a day. Let's get one class. And we cut things just to do the one class. And then as we got better at it, we expanded. So this week we're up to 5 classes a day. Week 3, we're doing 5 classes a day, all different classes, like representing like what you might need at home, what we need at home, and from us to you, right? Another couple examples, Kevin Mirsky, who goes on Instagram by the single fin theory. There's like little underlines in between each one.
Mhm.
Incredible artist, really, I don't know what you call it, like contemporary pop art, all very surf and West Marin oriented. Really, really inspirational to us.
Mhm.
And he shot us a picture on like day 3 of streaming and was like, "Hey, I made this for you guys." And it's got someone in a handstand and someone doing tree pose. And he even switched up colors for us to help us communicate to people different days of the week. The schedule, like we're all confused. What day is it? What's happening today? And keeping on our schedules. So
Mhm.
he helped us color coordinate it and gave us a really nice image to use to clearly mark our streaming channel, like what's going on it. And so I'm trying to communicate that it's a sum of us, like all of us are in this
Yes.
together. Mario Leon, who's copywriter, technologist, she reached out to us months ago and said, I want to help you with some of your content on your website, your writing. And time was too busy. We were in too many different directions, couldn't commit, and yet turned around and said, "Is that offer still there? Will you please help us make our front page clear? Like we need people to understand where to go and what to do."
Mhm.
And the old MPY isn't relevant anymore. And like maybe we don't need to be this like local friendly voice that is in corporate. Maybe we need to be really clear about what to do and how to get your information you want.
And
And
let me
so,
ask you, Jamie,
yeah.
because you've answered a few of my questions that I
Oh
was
my
going to
God, I
ask.
skipped to 3 and
No,
4.
you
Yeah.
did, and I love it. And I just wanted you to continue talking because you were on a roll and you were saying all the things. Like I wanted to know what the challenges were and what steps you were taking to adapt, and deal with these challenges, and also what opportunities and insights and different things have you found sort of as a result of this going forward. So you just said something that made me want to stop you there and say, and just kind of comment and focus on this idea for a second, which is, Marin Power Yoga, it will never be the way that it was before. Like
No.
going forward, it will change. And so, um, how do you feel about that?
You know what? That is actually a really great point. I think a deceptively important point that everyone needs to not only accept in, but adopt in. And the past is the past. It will not be the future. All of us will have new processes. All you have to do is make a list of your current paranoias and know that those paranoias are going to be there a year from now. Like nobody's going to get past these current paranoias. We're going to live with them and have to exist within them. So all of our businesses have to change. I mean, I can give you a couple little examples because we've been thinking about the real world business a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bridge two things: are
Mm-hmm.
how we're going to transition,
Mm-hmm.
and then what will the real world look like when we're all done.
Great. Tell me.
So like right now we're practicing streaming.
Yeah.
We're practicing. We're trying it on Twitch. We're going to have a private network using Vimeo of separate separate streams that we can do for corporations or people who want to work from home and don't want to be in our class but really want it just tuned in for them. Um, that will make its way back into our regular schedule. Like, how could we take all this new knowledge and technology in and not integrate it into the future? So if we ever get back to a regular schedule,
Mhm.
it's going to include live stream classes for people who are on the road or people who are at home. And we're going to make that accommodation. It's an amazing and easy accommodation in the end that people who can't come to the studio, whether it's because of paranoias in health or practical issues in health, we're going to provide that service for them at home. So this is a great end result, immediate end result of this transitionary period and how we can reintegrate. More practically, it's not our core values that are going to change as our business, because those are really solid. I'd like to think they're very solid. Our practices are going to change. Like we have spent our whole lives, as far I'd say all of us have spent all our whole lives making things easier and more accessible. And that needs to change. Everything can't be easy and immediate.
Right.
So little example. We store people's mats at the studio. uh, it was like somewhat of a ridiculous thing that we started in the very beginning of like you can leave your mat in the space because mats are heavy and you don't have to carry them back and forth. And I've always questioned it because it's also good marketing that people are carrying their mat to yoga. So there is this side of like seeing where people are going and that intention. And just even seeing someone go to yoga, not even our studio, still makes me happy. Like if I'm in SF and I see someone walking with their yoga mat, I'm like, that person's going to feel better. And that makes me feel a little bit better. Practically speaking, we can't ensure that those mats are sterile. Like even our loaner mats, we're going to have to remove the loaner mats from the situation, at least in my mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't keep people's mats in the studio because there's no security around that. And a lot of what we're going to is security of sterile. And I think that's something that in our process, people will be picking up their mats as we get to open again in the future
Mm-hmm.
and taking them home and bringing them back and forth. And we're going to have to develop new systems around that because people will want to know that their mat is clean, only themselves have been on it, right? Like
Right.
there is this inherent social spacing that was always in yoga, as modern yoga with
Mm-hmm.
yoga mats.
Mm-hmm.
The industry evolved into mat to mat as acceptable spacing. This was never acceptable by fire departments. You know, when they would look at your
Yep.
safety,
Yep.
they would say, no, you need actually a couple more feet around, which didn't make sense in the yoga world. There's no no equipment to navigate around. The same with dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of space. You know, we always want to be closer,
Right.
right? That's
Yeah.
part of what's drawn us to these practices.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go back to spacing.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be more space between mats in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to practice right next to somebody and get hit by their sweat.
Right. Right.
Like that's just a way of that we're going to have to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Not only as a company, us, but everybody.
Right.
Uh, Let me give you another short example there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even shorter. Like
Okay.
we were a touch studio. We always do assist. That was something that we feel
Wow.
passionately about is that humans need to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be appropriate moving forward. We may become a non-touch studio
Mm.
because it may not be safe to touch people for a long time. You know, we don't know how long that will be. If you just look at your current paranoia and say, nobody can touch me, like I can't even hand someone money. I have to
Right.
put the money down and have them pick it up because I don't want to be in that proximity.
Mm-hmm.
Where no one's going to be okay being touched in 6 months. There's
Right.
still going to be the risk and danger out there. I don't want to say no one. I'm just saying that
Right. In
within my
general.
current paranoias.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We're
so
operating only in the current paranoia spectrum.
this week's paranoias.
Exactly. It is amazing how every week has been different and sort of taken on a life of its own, and sort of where our heads are sort of getting adjusted. If it was a very short time frame, if it was just, if we really were going to get out of this at the beginning of April, we wouldn't be experiencing this dramatic transition and shift in our lives, both personally and professionally, and just sort of how the future is being defined by this time off. And in many ways, not necessarily financially, but for some people, I think it's really healthy for us to have this time where it's just not a lot is going on, and we have
Yeah.
time to kind of settle.
The power of choice is real and it's happening now for all of us. And we all have to be very intentional about what things we keep in our lives, what things we bring into our lives. And I'd say like an example that we're all dealing with this at home right now is food. Food is something that we used to make 3 choices a day on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to 2 because there's just like not it's like takes too much time,
Mm-hmm.
like prepare food, and we all eat differently in my house. So I'm like the vegetarian vegan out here because of my
Mm-hmm.
cholesterol issues. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do my own little prep. Everyone does their own little prep. And we start by eating a later breakfast lunch and then eating a later dinner. And there's less time involved. We're also all not eating out, even though we're taking in from restaurants to
Yeah.
support them.
Yeah.
You have more control over what ingredients you put in your food.
Mm-hmm.
Like you choose whether you put butter or you put olive oil,
Right.
and what effect that has in your life. So
Right.
these choices, like the choices we're making these last 3 weeks, we have this opportunity to pick the choices we do over the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to lay the foundation for how life is after this. So
Exactly.
I would say that pivot, as we started with, is such a great word. Choice is a really equally powerful word that we need to embrace and know that this isn't just happening to us. Like we have a choice in sheltering in place is a choice of safety, right? A choice of like trying science and seeing how this experiment works out,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
testing this theory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing that we have to make in all of our choices, whether it's fitness, our hobbies. Like, can we bring back the word hobby as
Mm-hmm.
like a embracing it as such a
Mm-hmm.
positive aspect in our life, whether it's journaling, uh, whether it's, I always think of whittling because nobody whittles, right? But like, what is it? Is it like making a musical instrument or
Right.
like learning how to make whipped coffee?
Right. That's a thing, and it's delicious.
Oh my God, that's like things that Instagram brings us into our
Right,
world. Whipped
exactly.
coffee.
Exactly. But it's bringing consciousness to our behaviors and to our daily actions and what we're choosing to do. Since we're limited in our choices and our availabilities, we're choosing things that are more meaningful to us or more impactful. And you're right, it is going to set the stage for the future. And on that note, I just have one more question for you, Jamie. I appreciate your time so much. Um, but one thing that I'm curious about is, what is one habit that you have formed over this 3-week time that you're either going to keep or you're going to change it once the quarantine ends? What's one habit?
Hmm. Boy, I would say that I'm gonna go with the luxury on this one because we're very clear about what our luxuries are on this, and getting the daughter out to take a hike with me every day has been a real luxury, and we never have time for this. Everyone's too busy, and yet there's suddenly an hour that we can get out there and do this. And I've been hiking the last 2 years a lot with friends, and dragging people out with me to all different places, and that's a different experience. Being able to take a hike with family and talk, these are the shared experiences. So there's this intake of content that we do,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Netflixing or whatever you're streaming, listening to music or reading a book. All of this is content that we take in, shared experiences with the family. I'd say this is like one of the things that's affected our society the most, is that we've all moved far away from family,
Yes.
and we're seeing that now, and that we're forced to be apart from them,
Right.
right? Like we can only FaceTime or Zoom, or
Mm-hmm.
we have to use these digital tools to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So in these micro groupings of our family, like that's something that was too easy to push aside in busyness, and everyone's busyness. Like the kids are busy, I'm busy, like we've all got our busyness. That the day and age of busyness is over. We're coming back to the day and age of real connection with family becoming the foundation of what we bring out into the world. So if I can take any habit forward, that's the one that I want to take forward, is
I love it.
just spending quality time with family, being with them, and letting that be what gives me the strength to give to others and to be with others. And I would like to point out to you
Mm-hmm.
particularly that in doing this, you've made your own pivot, right? And that you're bringing your services, your abilities out there into the world, and it's critical that we all do this moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I acknowledge you and encourage
Thank
you to keep doing
you.
that.
Thank you, Jamie. You've always been such a great support and inspiration to me, and good advisor and mentor. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I feel really good. I feel like, it just struck me that now is the opportunity for me to kind of branch out and do these things, which make me feel very uncomfortable to be on the camera and doing video, but it's so important. And I think people are like, appreciate it, even if it's raw and it's messy and it's imperfect and all these things. It's kind of like, well, it's real.
Yeah, it's really who we are and what we're doing, and we all have to give our skills and abilities to each other right now.
Right. So how can we support you and Marin Power Yoga going forward?
Oh, take classes, join us, make the world a little bit smaller. So whether it's on Twitch or the website, get involved, take the classes, get stronger and healthier, and let's all come back as a community in a better place.
Fantastic. Jamie, thank you so much for all of your awesome words and insight and your time. And I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything. And maybe we'll have a second round of interviews and we'll get to touch base in the future and see where you are.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you for including me.
Right. Thanks, Jamie. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.